Hey, welcome to Film versus Movie, the podcast where we debate the cinema you hate. I'm your co-host, Belton DeLaine-Facey.
And my name's Chris Shurr.
And on this podcast, we watch the films that have been slandered, desecrated, and sent to the worst dinner party by public opinion. And one of us tells you why it's actually pretty good.
And the other one's going to tell you why it's a steaming pile of shit.
And today's film, we are discussing Friendsgiving, or depending where you are, dinner with friends.
Did you figure that out?
The only thing I can include, apparently, Friendsgiving is just such an American term that the distributors were like, if we call this Friendsgiving, we're not going to be able to sell it anywhere outside of America.
You could do like Canada too, though. Canadians have a Thanksgiving, but it's in like October, I think.
I mean, so they have a Thanksgiving. I actually did look this up a bit. The term Friendsgiving is mostly American.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of broken families here.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. But yeah, overall, this movie is just about two friends who plan to spend Thanksgiving together when a lot of unexpected guests arrive.
Yeah.
And so getting into the plot, the two friends, Molly and Abby. Molly is an actress who is recently divorced with a baby, and she has a new boyfriend, Jeff, who is, I guess you would call him a nomadic philanthropist, something like that.
He's like, he seems like a good dude. Like, I don't want to, but he's kind of like, he's like sexy British.
Yeah.
Like, he's very nice.
Yeah. He's also one of those dudes who would do like some humanitarian work in like Asia or Africa and will just find a way to work it into the conversation.
Well, yeah, he's just playing. He's doing bits essentially.
Yeah. And so the other friend, Abby, she came out as a lesbian at the age of 29, and she is fresh off the end of her first long-term lesbian relationship,
which was abusive.
Yes. They make it clear it's abusive, but like anytime they mention it, it feels like the delivery for a joke.
Yeah, well, I think the joke is, it's like, how could you stay through that?
Yeah.
When she's like, oh, she shaved my hair because she saw a gray hair when I was sleeping.
Yeah. All right. So Abby and Molly both plan to spend Thanksgiving together, just the two of them hanging out. But then Molly invites Jeff to stay, and then their mutual friend Lauren, her and her family can no longer travel, so so Molly invites them over. Abby briefly leaves because she's upset about it, but then comes back because she has to spend it with somebody. And then Molly's mom arrives unexpectedly all the way from Sweden.
Helen.
Yes,
yeah.
Her mother, Helen, which is like, I feel like they didn't have to make her from Sweden, but Sweden is just so comically far.
Oh, I thought it was like comically beautiful too.
Oh, her mom?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that too.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. And so Lauren also invites a bunch of lesbians to try and set up Abby. And then other people show up, which, while I feel like we've done films before where the plot can be described as shenanigans happen, this is the most shenanigans happens movie.
If you look at the Wikipedia synopsis of the plot, at one point towards the end, they're like, and then they dance and some other stuff happens. And then there's a hospital visit and they talk or something. I don't know. Like the ending gets pretty loose.
Yeah. Like, I was rewatching this while making these notes. It's just like, all right, I'll just make note of important plot points. At some point, I was just like, am I just in a daze? Have I not been paying attention to the last half hour of the movie?
It's like they told they gave them characters, and then they told them like a 2-sentence intro, and then they're like, shoot. But they're like, let's figure out where this goes.
Yeah, honestly, that's how I would describe a lot of the moments. It's like, it feels like improv bits.
Yeah.
All right, so some of the highlights of the shenanigans. While she's high off shrooms, Lauren kisses Abby to make her feel better. Lauren's husband finds out about it, and Abby learns he's cool with it. He's just disappointed he wasn't there. uh, uh, and then while Abby's high, she gives Molly's baby pecans, which he ends up being allergic to, and so they rush him to the hospital, and that causes a big fight between Abby and Molly, which they keep repeating, like, you don't give a baby nuts. Maybe I just know so little about childcare, but I did not know that was a general rule.
I didn't know that was a general rule either. I probably wouldn't do it just because I don't give things to babies. Like, I always ask if I need to give something to a baby just because, like, this exact situation.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the same way, but that's also my policy when it comes to giving food to pets. So I'm like, I feel like you should treat a baby a little bit better than a pet.
Oh, I'll give food to a pet. I'll feel really guilty about it though. Like, not on the dog's behalf, but the owner's. I'll be like, I shouldn't have done that, but like, I'm only a woman. Like, I'm only a human being.
Yeah. I mean, like, if I'm in your kitchen, you have a dog, and you have like a posted list of like the foods you are and are not allowed to give dogs, that's just a free pass to me.
Well, it's just like no chocolate, no grapes.
See, I know no chocolate and no grapes. That's all I know, which is disappointing because I once had to look this up for a script I was writing. So I feel like I should know more foods dogs are not allowed to have. I think it's also something like raw potatoes, but they can have cooked potatoes for some reason.
Floss. They can't eat floss. It gets clogged in their intestines. Socks. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, they rush the baby to the hospital. They make up, and that's really the end of the movie. Oh yeah, one of the people that comes over is Molly's ex-boyfriend, who her mom wants her to get back with.
And then her mom tries to hook up with him, and he's like, I'm a scumbag, but like not that much of a scumbag. He's like, look, I'm a scumbag, but like I got limits.
Yeah, I guess it also is worth noting her ex-boyfriend is also an actor, which like that seems to be the only place her being an actor is relevant. Other than that, it's just people making jokes or comments about how like, oh, you were great in what was the name of the fake movie, like Pluto Invader or something like that?
Mars in Retrograde. No. We probably should have written this down.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. I'll get you the name.
Yeah. All right. So for production history, there again, this is a small movie, very independent. So there wasn't much of a production history I can find. It's written, directed by Nicole Payon. It's her directorial debut. Since then, she directed a movie that came out in 2023 called The Kill Room. This movie was filmed in May 2018. It got distribution and deals in 2019, and it was released October 23rd, 2020. And so it didn't get much of a theatrical release. Most of the release was over digital. So there isn't much box office information. I tried to find the budget for this movie. The only source I could find said the budget was $33,000, which is absolutely way too low.
So then this is a pretty high return movie.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, considering like it does have like a fairly notable cast. Like if you watch American TV regularly, you will recognize a lot of people.
Was Kat Dennings big before this film?
Yeah, she was on Two Broke Girls.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, it's way too low.
Yeah,
Like she's got to be able to pull more than 35,000.
yeah, yeah. It's like even if everyone's just friends with the directors and they want to do this as a favor, there are still like union rules you have to
Yeah.
follow. Uh,
Maybe it was 350,000, but that still seems a little low.
yeah, because like for something like this, I would expect like at least a couple million.
How quickly could you realistically shoot this movie with the quality that it is?
It depends how fast I could like get a crew.
Okay, so the crew's there. It's people you work with, solid acting cast who come in. Like everyone's on the same page. Let's get this done as fast as fucking possible.
Oh, you mean like total time shooting?
Yeah, where they're like, we're gonna pay actors, but you're only working 2 days.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could probably like shoot this whole thing in like 2 weeks. It's all one location.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe this is probably still too low.
Yeah. All right. So like the only box office number I could find, it said it made $33,126 at the box office, which again, it was mostly digital distribution, so we do not have those numbers.
My guess is this just like I'd never even heard of this movie. Did you hear of it when it released?
I did not hear of it when it released.
I think this just kind of got lost to COVID.
Yeah, it was a 2020 release. It's like there are very few movies that weren't like already part of big franchises that really popped off during 2020.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think this movie, without the pandemic, I think it's a better movie.
I definitely think more people would have gone to see it.
Yeah. I think it's got enough of an enough of a good cast. And it's an interesting, like everyone likes Friendsgiving. Like it gives the right vibe to pull in people.
Yeah, like it is the tone of movie that like if you are having a friend's giving, you could just put on as like a feel good thing.
Yeah.
All right. So this film currently stands at a 19% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 4.5 out of 10 on IMDb. So, are you ready for opening statements?
Yeah. Let's hope this makes sense.
Yeah. All right. I will be attacking the film and Chris will be defending.
Friendsgiving is an interesting experiment of a film where they tried to make a comedy that felt very real to moderate success. The grounded approach, while falling a little flat, succeeded in creating some great comedy. It's a decent movie to put on a Sunday. It's a decent movie to put on while being hungover on a Sunday. This is the only film to get the vibe of how uncomfortable parties are for me.
I mean, look, they say if you try to make everyone happy, you're just going to fail. They clearly appeal to a specific demographic.
It's just me.
All right. For a lot of people, Friendsgiving is a special gathering of loved ones. If yours is as enjoyable as this film, you're probably better off with your toxic ass family. This film underutilizes a great cast by failing to give them opportunities to flesh out the characters. As a result, the film feels like separate parts Frankenstein in what can be called a film.
Yeah. They do like throw a bunch of bits together. I'll give you that. But I think the bits are funny.
I think like some of them are like as I mentioned, it does feel like a lot of scenes are just improv, but even so, sometimes watching it feels like not everyone is completely in on the bit that's happening. Like at the beginning when a bunch of characters are just arriving at the house, they do little bits with Molly. Like Jeff is just kind of standing there, like he genuinely seems lost and like just not responding to anything.
Yeah, that might. I don't know. I think that I have this feeling that it like ran into some wonkiness when it was edited. Like I feel like some of the things that might come off as like, oh, it's low quality was just They didn't quite edit it right,
Oh,
and everything got very disorganized.
oh yeah, I definitely think that the editing in a lot of parts just threw off the comedic timing. But I also think like everyone's like supposed to be this wacky character. I don't think they're utilized in a way where they add to like the character arc of Molly or Abby, which is clearly what we're supposed to be focused on. Also, like, if you're really going for, like, the wacky character movie, it's like everyone should be a little stepped up in the wackiness department. Like, do it in a way that causes some drama. Like we hear a lot about Molly going through a divorce. Why not instead of her ex-boyfriend being there, that's just her ex-husband, and then you have the same dynamic of the mom's trying to set them up, but she's also attracted to him. It would give us a better opportunity to actually learn about her divorce, which seems so important, but is touched on so little throughout the film.
That's fair. I kind of like the muted wackiness more than if it was like way over the top. In the sense that Chelsea Peretti's character who's playing the shaman. She's playing a white shaman from California. And it's like you could have taken Chelsea Peretti and just had her go so far over the top where she's playing like this real fucking kookster. But I kind of like this like borderline disingenuous shaman. Like when she's giving the thanks and she's like, what I'm thankful for is doing ayahuasca 9 to 10 times this year. Like just that's such a good line, but it's not like, what am I thankful for? Xenu or like something really extreme in the wackiness direction.
Yeah, no, I think Chelsea Peretti's character is like is where like everyone else should have been. But again, with Peretti character is like, was her like being that white shaman from California like do for Abby or for Molly? It feels like her character could have been replaced with like any wacky character with any wacky actor, and it would have had the same impact on the story.
I think that's kind of true. I think that's sort of what I'm trying to describe with this realism in the sense that like if you went to a if someone invited you to a Friendsgiving, it doesn't like drive plot. And that's kind of just like you just had someone there who causes a little bit of chaos.
Yeah, but
it's more like they have to deal with them rather than the people that Abby and Kat have to deal with are pushing them forward.
yeah, but that's the thing. It's like they don't. It doesn't feel like they have to deal with them. Like there's never a point in the movie where either Abby or Molly are like, oh my god, you guys are getting on my last nerve. I need to get away from every single one of you. It just never builds to that.
It does though. Maybe not for Abby. It does. Remember, she's at the table eating dinner and she's like asking for the wine and everyone's kind of bothering her. And that's when she goes upstairs and feeds the baby the pecan and takes all the mushrooms and just gets like real fucked up. So that I get what you're saying in the sense that like they could kind of integrate everything a bit better. But I think that lack of integration created like an interesting style of the comedy.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I think like the lack of integration, it just also means that again, scenes just aren't building on each other. Like when we get to that dinner scene, you're just looking at everyone at the table and kind of realize, oh, half the table does not need to be there for this movie. Like,
Okay, I'll give it to you. You could have cut that couple. You know, the CrossFit couple,
yeah,
the straight, you could have thrown them out. And I agree with
yeah,
that 100%.
yeah, the CrossFit couple, Lauren's kids seem to only be there for the daughter to see her and Abby kissing. I don't think the son has any lines at all.
No.
Um, the, and then it's just like the women that were invited to try to set up Abby, which again, if it's a thing where it's like they're really trying to set up Abby, they each get like one 30-second scene with her, and then she does not have to deal with them again.
Yeah. I mean, lesbians are respectful, so that's pretty real. um, yeah, I liked watching the romance that was going on between the DJ and it was the DJ and the woman, the anti-capitalist woman. They're dating in the back. They're
Yeah,
like all night. They're hanging
yeah,
out. I kind of liked it.
I
Like,
see. That's the thing. I noticed that, but like, if Abby's main arc is supposed to like highlight how lonely she feels, like that's something for her to respond to, but she just doesn't. Like, cause the main thing is she's supposed to see Lauren and her husband and be like, oh, they're such a happy couple, and just like be upset anytime she watches them. We don't get a whole lot of that. I think like if she's feeling lonely, her watching two people that were brought in to potentially date her could set her off. And I think with Kat Dennings, she could have like played that scene really well, but they just don't give her the opportunity.
okay, they don't give her the opportunity that we know of. Because I kind of have this weird question: how much film do you think they actually shot for this movie? Not like shooting multiple takes, but like let's say you cut every scene together that could potentially go into the film. Do you think they had a lot left over, or do you? I kind of get this like. It wouldn't surprise me if they're like, all right, hour and a half, we're done. Let's go home.
So the thing is, it cuts away to a lot of parts where it feels unscripted. Like it feels like all these side characters just kind of talking to each other, like everyone's in character and just improvising their lines. I would expect them to have a lot more of that, but for any conversations that actually feels important to the story, I don't think they have a lot extra.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah, and then going back to like the dynamic between Molly and Abby, it feels like they keep rehashing the same points that each of them is upset about throughout the film, so it becomes hard to grow their character arc throughout the film, because it gets to a point where when they finally have that big fight. I imagine it's a huge fight because Molly's son is having a severe reaction and going to the hospital. But it feels like everything they say in that argument is stuff that they've already said to each other. So it doesn't feel like, oh, the potential friendship ending or argument it's supposed to feel like.
Yeah, that scene wasn't great. I'll give you that. That was like kind of an ass scene. I just thought the acting kind of fell flat between them. Like not for the whole movie, but for that specific scene. I watched it like at noon today, and I was like, this isn't good. Like I was like really vibing where I'm like, I actually really like this movie. And then it got to that scene and I was like, oh, okay, now I kind of remembered what I didn't like about
Yeah,
this
well,
movie.
because I think it's a matter of, it felt like near one of them was like digging further into their characters for that scene. They were still just dealing with everything we already know about the character.
I want to like I wish I could talk to the director, the script writer, because like I don't even think a big arc in like character development was the thing. I kind of get this feeling that the story is literally like, holy shit, this Friendsgiving, and here it is, like, whoa, look at it, it's crazy, and then they just had to pick. They're like, you need like main characters, and so that was Kat and Abby.
Yeah, but I feel like that puts the film in this weird middle ground, because I still feel like the ensemble characters overall are not wacky enough to do like, oh, we're having a wacky dinner thing. But so then it's like you're leaning more into like the indie grounded character driven angle, but then it's not, but then it's like they don't have a character arc strong enough for that. So it's this weird middle ground where it's just doing neither.
It's kind of like if you set up hidden cameras at someone's Thanksgiving dinner and just like watched them, and you're like, well, there's no character arc and all this. I know it's like, I know that you're sitting here and you're like, that's not what they taught us to do in film school. But I think it is kind of like an interesting idea of just try and make it like as plain as real life while still being interesting.
I mean, I do. I mean, like, yeah, I definitely get some of that because there are bits where I think they capture that, like Abby's anytime she's on video call with her family, like I think that kind of captures the tone you're talking about, and I feel like that's what they were going for. Where like anytime she's talking with her mom or sister, they do feel like these wacky characters that if someone were telling you a story about them as their own relatives, it would be hilarious, and it feels realistic and entertaining. Again, it's just a matter of like if they aren't the most important characters. They're mostly used for cutaway bits. So if you really want to be like really wacky and funny with that, that should be the bar every other character clears.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know what the director was going for, but I kind of like the result. Also, they did kind of have that like every time they cut to those characters, there are these sort of small conversations when it's straight couple is talking to Chelsea Peretti and she's like, I actually was so angry I didn't speak for 2 years. And he's like, yeah, I'm a real angry guy too. He's like, I really need that. Like there's just all these like little small moments. I mean, like the photo booth, like that's such a when there's like the whole photo booth is such a good part of the script because it leads to like five amazing jokes. So like the photo booth guys show up and he's like, oh shit, hang on, I got the line right here. He's like, Molly Erickson, shit, now I know where you live. He just says it so casually, and then like in the next scene it's him just like going line by line to describe all of the props they have for the photo booth, where he's like, yay, we got boxing gloves, you know, if you want to punch someone, we got some it's this weird kind of like I could picture myself sitting there and just being like, shut the fuck up, like we know what's gonna happen. Like
okay, see, I think like those two scenes were good. However, by the end of the movie, I completely forgot about the photo booth. Like I forgot it existed because then like in the hospital, Jeff makes a comment about like, oh, I still owe you for the photo booth. I was just like, oh yeah, he like there was a whole thing where she had to pay for it.
Yeah. The fact that he's at the hospital, he gets into the Jeff has no shirt on like the entire movie. And so when they're sending him off to the hospital, he just walks out with no shirt on. And I missed this in the first walkthrough. But so he gets in the Uber and they go to the hospital and he walks into the hospital shirtless. And the nurse is just like, so you guys have been drinking. Like, it's just like, it's a wacky character. He's always got his shirt off. Like,
well, I mean, like if you follow running news now, every runner in the world knows not to trust someone who never keeps a shirt on.
Yeah, it's fair, but I don't know. It's some good bits.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like I mean, I mean, I feel like I may have discussed this or brought up stuff similar when talking about Night at the Roxbury, but like that, but like. All the bits there actually lead to something and like are ingrained into the main characters. It's like is like because like a lot of these characters just do not affect the two characters we're really following. It does make them just seem extra and like they are not needed. And the fact like we keep cutting away from the main characters to these like side conversations that have nothing to do with the story, it kind of makes that more obvious.
You think maybe like they shot the film and then they were like, oh God, this whole Molly cat arc just isn't quite working. And they're like, but we got all this B footage of people just talking. They're like, what if that's the film? We use the usable stuff. We just keep cutting in and out. Real grounded approach to a Friendsgiving.
Yeah. I mean, that would definitely be an interesting way it came about. I mean, I don't know. It's also weird because like at in the beginning, they just really force both Abby and Molly's backstory in there because the first scene of the movie is Molly doing dominatrix play with Jeff, and then she just randomly brings up like childbirth and having a kid, and it's just like that's just not something people do, and so like for them to just force it in that much and like not let it play out naturally, like it feel it's something where it's like as an audience that that's just obviously on your mind, and then and then it's like I just really want to see it. I feel like I'm starting to rehash the same point. I do, but I do agree. They wanted to look realistic, which ended up being one of my issues because this doesn't look color graded at all.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of commentary. I don't know. This is one of those things where like I honestly the only thing I thought watching the movie was kind of like, oh, it looks a little dull in terms of like the hues and everything, but I didn't think it looked truly terrible.
I mean, the thing is that it looks like how a lot of raw footage would look before you edit it or do anything to it. So like it just feels weird that the movie looks like that cuz like it almost looks like it's not shot as a movie. It's like shot on someone's like home camera. Like honestly, if this did not have so many recognizable faces in the cast, I would have assumed this was made by someone like just above Neil Breen level.
Oh, that's unfair.
But like
Belton, that's unfair.
Like,
this is much better than Neil Breen.
Okay, but like just on like that that like not studio backed level, not quite like full budget indie movie.
Belton, how could you say that, Belton? Belton, how could you go and say that? I get what you're saying. Yeah, the color didn't look great. I'm trying to think if like picturing it right now, if I can honestly say that it looks more like it's one of those things where like movies shouldn't look realistic in their color. You kind of want them to pop more. Does Life look that muted, or is that like, was it that muted and off?
What like it just again, it just looks like on set they lit everything correctly, but it just looks like it's similar to how like raw footage would look. Like not I mean not completely muted because raw footage can look muted depending on what you're doing, but it's like it just needed something.
Yeah. Needed something. You want to get into 3 things, or you got some more?
I didn't, I think I went through all my points. I mean, I was gonna just kind of goes back to like it. The story just didn't feel like it had structure. Like like going through it, it didn't feel like there was any inciting incident. If there was like supposed to be a midpoint, I don't know what it would be. Uh, it just feels like they were just doing stuff, and then suddenly they're at the hospital.
Okay, I have this idea of maybe what happened. Yeah, like that's a fair point. I have maybe like this was pandemic. Did you say when it was shot? I'm
It was shot
blanking.
in 2018.
2018.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This just sat around and they needed to put it out. They're like, we need to just get this off a shelf.
Yeah, I mean, if it's really indie, it might just took a while to really get distribution.
I mean, there's no names that are like absolutely massive.
Yeah, there's no A-listers. It's again, it's if you watch American TV the past 10 years, you will recognize a lot of people in this movie.
Maybe they just thought it'd do better under Biden. They're like, oh, Biden's elected, Friendsgiving, let's go. No? All right. Yeah, yeah, the only thing, I don't know why, it just gives me like, not really in the comedy, but just something about it gives me kind of like Death at a Funeral vibe, where it's kind of like bleak, but also I haven't seen Death at a Funeral
Yeah,
in a long time.
cause I do get the idea, like, that's the vibe they were going for, but again, with that, funeral, the
Wow.
whole thing is as the story goes on, they learn more and more about each other and their dad who just passed away, and so, like, I think if they'd done more like this, where it's like, as the story goes on, like, Abby and Molly learn more about each other's respective breakups than they knew before. It could have like been more intriguing and also like solidify the theme of like it's important to not be alone, but also choose to be with people who care about you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a pretty good explanation.
So now we get into our concessions. This is where I give 3 things I liked about the movie, and Chris gives 3 things she didn't like. Um, like I said before, the cast is really good, really good. I think a lot, especially a lot of supporting cast, they really play into their roles, and as much as like I said, a lot of the improv bits don't add to the story. When they hit, they do really hit.
Yeah. The acting performances fall flat with drama, which gives it kind of an amateur vibe. That's what I was talking about in that
Mhm.
scene where they're screaming at each other. I was like, oh, okay, like the comedy is good, but everything else is kind of just devoid of energy. But like in that scene, I was like, oh my God, I've been like laughing along watching this movie. And then they're just like screaming at each other. I'm like, this just doesn't work. Like it doesn't work in how they're acting. And it really kind of like creates this weird division in the film.
Yeah, again, I feel like that's just one of those things where it's like if they properly built up to it, it could have been better, but it's like I'm honestly wondering like what the actors were drawing from in that scene.
I don't know. Maybe it's, I don't know. I like don't know. I wish there was more on this movie. I'm like, it's like a mystery almost
Yeah.
in terms of like, I want to know how it was made.
Yeah.
What happened?
All right. My next thing, I do like the style of cutting to these side conversations. Like it does make me curious to watch Nicole Payone's other film because like I think if she can like use the style to build up tension more, it could be a really good watch and something different that we don't see every day.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious, like how she would do in a different genre, like maybe like an
Mm,
action film or
oh
something.
yeah. Oh, actually, this style would probably like be great for a mystery movie because you just have scenes that it's easy to pass off as like, oh, these are just small bits they're doing. So like you could easily throw clues in there.
Yeah. Its story is definitely kind of flat, which gives it a film school vibe. The pacing isn't great. The story leaves you asking, is it still going on? I thought we reached the resolution. Again, that's the screaming scene.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I thought Abby like took mushrooms and talked to Margaret Cho and Fortune Feimster and who was the third Wanda Sykes.
Yeah, one side.
And like accepted who she was or whatever was actually going on. I didn't really fully get that. But yeah, I thought that was the end of the drama. And like the rest was just gonna like coast into the end. So once they started fighting, I was like, what's going on? Like,
All right, my third concession. I just wrote down vibes. Like it does like hit the tone it wants of just like a feel good good film about friends. It does look like everyone involved had fun shooting it. Like it still makes it something that that's like you could just like put on at friends gathering, and it it won't kill the mood.
you could still keep conversations going.
Yeah.
This seems like a film where they came up with a concept, then came up with as many ideas as possible and tried to work them all together.
Yeah.
That's kind of to varying success. I liked parts of it and I kind of liked the style. I thought it created like a lot of interesting ideas, but it definitely was a little jarring and I don't know, like thinly connected.
Yeah.
They didn't succeed in connecting them.
Yeah, I mean, in screenwriting circles, people use the term "kill your darlings." To me, it's like, hey, sometimes in a draft, you have a lot of things you like that don't add to the story. You gotta be willing to get rid of those. It's like, uh, it does seem like the screenwriter just didn't kill her darlings.
Well, it's first time directing
Yeah.
and whatnot, so she'll improve, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, she has another movie out we could watch.
Nice. What's the run?
Oh, it has a 61 Rotten Tomatoes. So yeah, solid.
It's better. All right, let's hit these closers.
All right. Now time for our closing statements.
All right. I watched this movie twice. The first expecting it to be bad, and the second knowing it's pretty funny. The second watch made it clear that this is an average movie. It's all right. It's possible to enjoy it. I'd give it a 55 to 65% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's fun. It's got some really amazing lines, a good cast. It's just got enough wrong with it. It's easy to focus on the awkwardness. Maybe I just love Kat Dennings.
All right. While the film is good for a few laughs, Friendsgiving is ultimately the product of a filmmaker unwilling to kill their darlings. The story fails to live up to its full potential as a large cast fail to support each other, and they should have paid the colorist to do another pass on this. Like that's just something I couldn't get over. Like after the first scene, I was just like, they should have color graded this.
Yeah. They could have released it in like 2019, but I guess that's a little over the top. It was doomed from like the pandemic. It was never going to make much money.
No, it was never going to make much money.
But
yeah, all right. Well, this has been another episode of Film versus Movie. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.